So, hello everybody. Today we are having a case which we will discuss with Dr. Jyoti. It is actually Dr. Jyoti's case which we will be discussing today. Over to Dr. Jyoti.
Good evening, sir. So, I would like to discuss a very interesting case today. So, this is a patient XYZ, and she presented to me in my gynae OPD some 2 days back. She was coming to me with a history of missed periods. She missed her period and then she did a UPT, urine pregnancy test, which was positive. This test was done by her at her house only. After that, she decided not to continue with that pregnancy because she was having a previous kid of 2 years old, which she delivered by cesarean section. Indication for cesarean was non-progress of labor at some 2 years back. Then she decided not to continue with this second pregnancy, and she took some MTP pills from by going to the counter, and she purchased some over-the-counter pills. After taking that MTP pill for first time, she didn't bleed. She waited for 4-5 days. Then she again took the MTP pill for second time. And she again waited for 4-5 days, but she didn't bleed again.
So it means that she had taken MTP twice.
Twice.
So the case is UPT positive, MTP taken twice. And there is a history of cesarean section also. Was there any bleeding?
No, she didn't bleed.
So how many times the UPT was taken?
She again took the UPT after taking second dose of MTP pills 1 week after that.
So now see, there are two chances. First is that it can be a case of aborting sac because she has already taken 2 MTPs. So it can be a case of an aborting sac, which is now, see, somewhere at the level of the cervix. So first is that it can be a case of an aborting sac, but as there is a history of the cesarean section, it can be a case of a cesarean section also. Now, scar ectopic. It means that we have to differentiate whether we are dealing with a scar ectopic, or we are dealing with a sac which has reached somewhere at the level of the isthmus or maybe a cervix. So we have to differentiate it. So let's differentiate this case today.
So after okay.
Go.
So now we will discuss the same patient. So this patient which presented to our OPD, she was carrying a report of abdominal scan which stated that she is having probably a aborting sac. But the history was not going in hand with her report, because the history was, when I asked her, she said that she didn't bleed. So how come the sac might be aborting? So we asked her to get a repeat scan done for this thing, and she was very much willing to get it done vaginally. So we go for a vaginal scan, which is more informative in these cases. In early pregnancy, we are usually going nice with vaginal scans. So on vaginal scan, when we started scanning her, so this is the uterus which we scanned here, and you can very nicely see a thickened endometrium. Endometrial thickness was around 9.9 millimeter, and we are here visualizing a sac-like structure which is located in the anterior uterine wall. Next slide, please. So on focusing over this sac-like structure, a gestational sac was visualized exactly at the location of this previous cesarean scar. And how did I came to know that this is a gestational sac only? Because I was very clearly seeing a yolk sac also there. And this is the cervical canal which is visible, and a small Nabatean follicle is also seen in the cervical canal. But she was not having any history of bleeding and no spotting, a mild spotting only she was saying, and which is very clearly visible here that the cervical canal is closed. So next slide, please.
So up to now, what we are getting that there is a gestational sac-like structure which is somewhere near to the cervical canal, I would say. But yet I cannot make out why this cannot be an aborting sac and why you are going in favor of the scar ectopic.
So because when I focused on cervix, the cervical canal was closed, and the ectopic sac, which I am saying that this is a scar ectopic, is very nicely embedded in this anterior myometrium, and a region of myometrium was clearly seen around that sac.
So it means that point number 1 is that it is going more anteriorly. Now see, first point is that it is going more anteriorly. Show where is the anterior.
Next,
so it is going more anteriorly. And if this
slide.
had been an aborting sac,
Yes.
then it will not go more anterior, but it will stay somewhere in the center.
This is the endometrial cavity here, which is like endometrial thickness, which we have measured, and endometrial cavity. Going in continuity with the cervical canal. The cervical canal is closed. This is an Nabatean follicle here. And this is a clearly visualized gestational sac located over the previous scar.
So point number 1, what we have discussed, that this is going more anterior. That is why you thought on lines of the scar ectopic. Point number 2 is that this cervical canal itself is not showing any sign of dilatation.
Yes, sir.
So point number 2.
Second, and then we are having a myometrium which is surrounding all, which is completely surrounding this gestational sac.
Point number 3. Point number 3 is that the myometrium is surrounding the gestational sac, and what I can see that the decidual reactions.
Yes.
This is very important. Show the decidual reaction. That there are decidual reactions, and this is very, very important point. Even if you don't have a color Doppler, you can make out on grayscale that this is not a sac which is in aborting phase. Had this been a sac which is in aborting phase, why there are decidual reactions?
Yes.
Okay. So point number 3, a decidual reaction, intact decidual reaction is going in favor of a scar ectopic rather than an aborting sac.
Second, yolk sac is clearly visualized, which is measured from inner wall to inner wall. It is around 1.2 mm. And the crown rump length which I measured for this embryo is around 3.6 millimeter, which comes out to be 6 week 1 day.
Okay, that is not very important, but very important are 3 points. Can you repeat the 3 points?
First point is that
this is more anterior.
Located more anteriorly. Second, we are having a myometrium surrounding all of this sac. And third is the decidual reaction.
Decidual reaction.
And cervical canal is closed.
Cervical canal is closed.
No trophoblastic reaction in cervical canal.
Right.
Nothing is there.
Now, what about the fetal cardiac activity?
Cardiac activity, when the report that she was carrying, she was having cardiac activity positive there.
Very good. So, the very important point over here is the cardiac activity. So, the cardiac activity, if present, now see, if present is literally ruling out the diagnosis of an aborting sac. Now, if it is negative, it can go there or here. But if it is positive, it has to be 100% a scar ectopic only.
That it is established there. So, after doing all this 2D scan, I just switch on my color Doppler. So this is again, I have focused here. So say this is the color Doppler mode. This is power Doppler, which I have used here. This whole of this vasculature is very well taken up by this trophoblastic reaction which is there also. So this is clearly, you can see all the penetrating vessels here. These are very well vascularized. So this is going again in favor of a scar ectopic only, because has it been a aborting sac, we are not able to visualize this vessels surrounding this our gestational sac there. If it has been an aborting sac, we are going to see no vasculature around this, only the blood which might be lying in cervical canal, you will be able to see somewhere around that. But again, this is going in favor of scar ectopic, that this vessels are coming here, and the thickened trophoblastic reaction, the decidual reaction which is here. So some placentation, ongoing placentation is there, which is evidence of trophoblastic tissue only. So it is very clearly visualized. You can see here also.
So very important point, this color Doppler is telling me that I am having an intact gestational sac. This is very important point, intact gestational sac, which is implanted here only, not in the phase of the expulsion. So this color Doppler is telling me that the trophoblastic invasion has actually happened over here. That is why Dr. Jyoti thought on lines of a scar ectopic.
And after this, we got some basic tests done for this patient, and after getting an ANC profile done, and a very important one, the serum beta HCG, and after 6 hours, the report came out to be 5,200 milli international units. So again, it goes in favor of scar ectopic only, that she is having a positive beta HCG, she is having a ectopic sac there. So everything finalize our provisional diagnosis of scar ectopic, and this patient we posted for conservative management because she is around 6 weeks 1 day only. So we decided to go with systematic methotrexate therapy, and we just asked to fill her a form, and we asked her to call her relatives, and we explained everything to her nicely, and she was started on conservative management.
Dr. Jyoti, it will be a favor if you will draw these points on the whiteboard so that our
Yes, sir.
doctors will not get mixed up with these differential diagnoses. So now we will give you a whiteboard so that you can draw these points over there.
Okay. So now we will differentiate between a scar ectopic and aborting sac. So the first point is that here in scar ectopic, the patient presenting with sign and symptoms of bleeding vaginum per vaginum or not. So she might have bleeding because this is also an abnormally located sac, or she might not present with any bleeding.
So bleeding
But
PV can be there, can be
or
absent.
cannot
So
be
plus
there.
minus is the bleeding PV.
Bleeding
Okay,
PV.
what about aborting sac?
in aborting sac, we are always going to see bleeding because
Okay.
the sac is in abortion phase. So cervical canal is opened up, and we are going to see that the patient is complaining of bleeding per vaginum. Then coming to the location. So location of this gestational sac, which is located here. So as you can see, we are giving the scar here on the anterior uterine wall, which is over the lower uterine segment. So you are always going to find this scar ectopic over the anterior uterine wall over previous cesarean scar. So trophoblastic tissue is like invading here, and this pregnancy is going to see, you are going to localize it in the anterior
So
uterine
point
wall.
number second is the location,
Location.
where in the scar ectopic we will be having more anterior, whereas in aborting sac we will be having in a cervical canal, it will means that it will be somewhere in the middle.
Middle, in
Okay.
the lower uterine cavity or in cervical canal, you can have that. Then the myometrium, which is surrounding this gestational sac, you are always going to see a myometrial ring around this sac. And in case of this aborting sac, as this sac is lying in endometrial cavity, so no myometrium will be seen here in this aborting sac.
So point number third is the myometrium, because this is the scar ectopic, it has to get surrounded by the myometrium,
Myometrium.
whereas in aborting sac, why the sac will have any myometrium surrounding? Okay.
Yes. So then we are having the most important point, fetal cardiac activity. So if it is very early pregnancy, we are if the it's like a developing embryo, you might not see any fetal cardiac activity. But as the embryo grows and you are doing a vaginal scan, you can see a cardiac activity around 6 weeks of pregnancy. You can visualize the cardiac activity. This cardiac activity is always absent in this aborting sac because this sac is not getting any blood flow or blood supply.
Okay, I love this point very much. This is very, very informative, this fetal cardiac activity. Now see, it can be present, it can be absent in case of a scar pregnancy. It means that if it is present or if it is present plus minus, it can go anywhere. It can go anywhere. It is not telling me whether it is a scar ectopic or an aborting sac. But if it is absent, now see, if it is absent, it is going in favor of aborting sac. But the absent is here also. Now try to understand. The absent is here also. But the positive, now try to understand. The fetal cardiac activity is, if seen 100%, I am repeating, 100%, it has to be what?
Scar ectopic.
Scar ectopic. So a positive is giving me a 100% diagnosis because it is intact over there only. You understanding?
It is
intact.
implanted.
It is implanted over there and it is still intact over there. So if there is a positive cardiac activity, it is literally ruling out the
aborting
sac. But if it is negative, it can go either
on
here
either
or
side.
here. So make a note over here that if it is positive, fetal cardiac activity, if present, is 100% a
diagnostic
scar
of scar
ectopic.
ectopic.
Okay.
Now we will, after doing a 2D mode, after completing our 2D scan, then we will switch over to color Doppler or power Doppler. And although we are not using it for early pregnancy, but as we are suspecting a abnormal pregnancy here, it is very important to rule out the nature of this pregnancy. So we have switched on power Doppler for this. So trophoblastic flow is always present, and a very well vascularized ring is seen all over this scar ectopic sac, because this scar ectopic is having the trophoblastic tissue which is continuously invading the spiral arteries, and it is going to make a channel over there so that the embryo keep on feeding and the embryo keep on growing. So this is an active tissue which is growing here. So it is extracting blood from this endometrial and myometrial junctions.
Yeah, so in one line, if it is implanted over there, intact and implanted, it will have a trophoblastic flow. And whereas in aborting sac, which is in a phase of an abortion, why I will see any type of trophoblastic flow over here. Okay.
Now the final point is how we are going to confirm our diagnosis by beta HCG level, which is also very important. So as this is a normal sort of ongoing pregnancy which is located abnormally, the only difference is that the sac is located abnormally, but otherwise the pregnancy is like a normal one only. So we are going to see a 66% rise in beta HCG after 48 hours. More than double the level which we are saying that we are having a more than double level after 48 hours. But in case of aborting sac, if you are going to repeat this beta HCG level after 48 hours, you are going to find a falling level.
So the point here is that because this is an intact gestational sac, intact, I mean the implanted intact gestational sac, the beta HCG level will grow as normal. You will expect a normal beta HCG after taking the next after 48 hours. But why the beta HCG here will increase? It has to fall over here. So the take home message is that you have to differentiate an ectopic scar ectopic from an aborting sac, because on ultrasound both look same. You have to take first the history, then you have to put all these points to differentiate whether I am dealing with a north or a south, because the management part is completely different, and on ultrasound both look same. So see for signs and symptoms, see for the location, see for the surrounding myometrium, and see for my favorite, cardiac activity without a color Doppler. Even if you are having a basic machine, see for the cardiac activity, and if it is plus, I mean if it is present, you know what wire is going. Then put your Doppler in action. If there is an intact gestational sac, it has to have an implantation. It means that you will see a ring of fire, or you will see some flow surrounding the gestational sac, and then see for the beta HCG. If beta HCG is increasing, it can even double. If it is increasing, then it is going in favor of the scar ectopic, and if it is falling, that is going in favor of the abortic sac. So this was all about the differential diagnosis of a case which is looking similar on ultrasound.
So after concluding this, I would like to thank Dr. A.B. Vani sir for coming here and attending our special session of this patient which we discussed today. Sir, I would like to thank you.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye. God bless all of you.